Las Vegas, where the Mafia makes the rules, and crime writes the story. Casino uncovers the brutal truth of Las Vegas in the 1970s, where power and greed rule the streets. It's not just about rolling the dice, it's about how the relentless pursuit of wealth and control ruins everything, from friendships to empires. The film reveals the Mafia's iron grip on the city, showing how even the brightest fortunes are built on corruption, lies, and violence. It's the story of two friends, once inseparable, whose hunger for power drove them to the top. But how could they lose everything when they seemingly had it all? Was it greed, betrayal, or something far darker at play? Welcome to the underworld of Las Vegas, where fortunes rise and fall in the blink of an eye. Today, we dive into the true story behind Casino, unraveling the financial power plays, money laundering, and mafia dealings that built this empire in the desert. At the heart of it all is Sam "Ace" Rothstein, a character inspired by real-life gambler Frank "Lefty" Rosenthal. Under the watchful eye of the Mafia, he mastered the money game in a Mafia-dominated Las Vegas, turning a casino into a multi-million-dollar empire. This 1995 gangster classic is based on the non-fiction book Casino, Love and Honor in Las Vegas by Nicholas Pileggi. Directed by the master himself, Martin Scorsese, Casino brings the gritty reality of 1970s Vegas to life. Scorsese didn't have to stretch the truth, he just changed the names. For instance, Robert De Niro's Sam "Ace" Rothstein is Frank Rosenthal, and Joe Pesci's Nicky Santoro is Anthony Spilotro, the Mafia's enforcer in Sin City. Another key figure is Philip Green, based on Alan Glick, who owned the Argent Corporation. Glick borrowed millions from the Teamsters Union to buy casinos, but he was just another pawn in the Mafia's grand scheme to launder money through the casinos. The Midwest Mafia bosses controlled the Teamsters Union. If you wanted to borrow money to buy a casino, you had to get their approval. No one received a Teamsters loan without ensuring the mob would get their cut. Sanctioned by Remo Gaggi, the outfit's top boss, based on real-life Chicago outfit headman Joseph Ayupa. Behind the scenes, the real power lay not with the casino execs, but with those who controlled the cash flow. The Midwest Mafia, through the Teamsters Union, funneled millions into Las Vegas, ensuring their bosses got paid before any records were kept. Suitcases of cash were flown in monthly, fueling the machine that kept the mob in power. Alan King's character, Andy Stone, was based on Alan Dorfman, the kingpin who connected the Teamsters Union with the Chicago mob. He wasn't just any player. He was the linchpin in a web of corruption that stretched from Detroit to Cleveland. Although Stone appeared to be a legitimate businessman, he was taking orders directly from the Mafia. When they needed a $62.7 million loan for the Tangiers Casino, Stone made sure it happened, setting up the perfect frontman, Philip Green. Green, an Arizona real estate hustler with barely enough cash to cover his check, believed he was chosen for his business acumen. In reality, he was just another piece in the Mafia's elaborate puzzle, designed to clean dirty money through Las Vegas's glittering casinos. And then there was Ace Rothstein. The Mafia needed someone they could trust to run the Tangiers Casino, and Ace was their man. In Casino, Rothstein runs the fictitious Tangiers Casino. But in reality, Frank Rosenthal managed 4 major casinos in Las Vegas: the Stardust, Hacienda, Fremont, and Marina. For legal reasons, the Stardust was substituted with the imaginary Tangiers in the film. Starting in the 1950s, Rosenthal operated the largest illegal bookmaking operation in the US for the Chicago outfit, earning a name as a master oddsmaker. He was already well known in Vegas, celebrated as a brilliant sports handicapper and a meticulous manager. Despite his extensive criminal record, Ace was put in charge under the guise of Tangiers Public Relations Director, a title that allowed him to operate the casino while his gaming license application sat at the bottom of the pile. Ace was promised full control with no interference, and in return, he made the Tangiers one of the most profitable operations in Las Vegas. Ace Rothstein was more than just a casino manager. He was a financial genius who lived and breathed gambling. His deep understanding of odds and his skill in managing the complex financial systems within the casino made him invaluable to the Mafia's operations. Nicky Santoro, Ace's right-hand man, served as his bodyguard and enforcer for the Chicago outfit. Nicky was responsible for overseeing the mob's illegal skimming operation and ensuring that nothing hindered the casino's profits. With Ace at the helm of the mob-backed Tangiers, there was no one to challenge their operations. Together, they formed a formidable team. Under Ace's management, the Tangiers, like other Mafia-controlled casinos, became a money-laundering powerhouse. The Mafia orchestrated a scheme known as the Skim, where untaxed money was siphoned directly from casino profits. This racket became one of their most lucrative operations. By meticulously managing the flow of money, they ensured that millions were funneled away from the casinos before ever being recorded, evading taxes and fueling their criminal enterprises. Money laundering is the process of making large amounts of money generated by criminal activities, such as drug trafficking or terrorist funding, appear to be earned legitimately. In Las Vegas, the Mafia transformed casinos into money laundering machines. They used various techniques, including skimming profits off the top, rigging slot machines, and falsifying records. These methods allowed them to launder vast sums of money right under the noses of the authorities, seamlessly integrating dirty money into the legitimate economy. Casinos generate revenue primarily through gambling, but they also profit significantly from ancillary services such as food, beverages, and entertainment. Everything was perfect until Nicky started to play his own game. Nicky's story is one of unchecked ambition fueled by greed. As a violent enforcer for the Chicago mob, Nicky initially played by the rules, but soon, the lure of money and power led him to carve his own path. His real-life counterpart, Anthony Tony Spilotro, was notorious for his brutality, but beneath that was a relentless drive for wealth. In Vegas, Nicky's role in the mob's skimming operation placed him at the center of a vast financial empire. The mob needed someone they could trust with their money, and Nicky seemed perfect for the job. But the power that came with handling millions of dollars began to go to his head. Paired with Lefty Rosenthal, the two men represented the perfect balance of brains and brawn. While Rosenthal was the mob's golden boy, dedicated, smart, and skilled in the art of making money, Nicky was the muscle, ensuring that the cash flow remained uninterrupted. However, Nicky's greed soon outpaced his loyalty. The vast sums of money flowing through Vegas became too tempting, and he began to divert some of it for himself. Eventually, he got himself banned from every casino in the city, a significant blow, as those casinos were his primary source of income. This ban, known as being in the black book, was a severe punishment that cut off his access to the very thing he craved most: money. To compensate, Nicky decided to revive his old gang and resumed their criminal activities, targeting high-profit establishments like jewelry stores. They earned the nickname the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang by literally drilling through walls to steal what they could. Nicky's obsession with money led him to take risks that would eventually bring about his downfall. For a time, both Rosenthal and Tony Spilotro thrived, accumulating wealth and power. But, as with all things, it couldn't last forever. This time, the mob bosses had a bigger issue to deal with. By 1975, the mob's grip on Las Vegas began to show signs of strain. It started when the clean-cut frontman, Alan Glick, faced an unexpected legal battle. A former business associate, Tamara Rand, who had loaned Glick a significant sum years earlier, demanded a share of the casino profits. When Glick refused, Rand filed a lawsuit, seeking to expose the financial dealings that connected Glick to the Mafia. Rand's legal action posed a serious threat. If the case went to court, it could reveal the Mafia's hidden ownership of the casinos, something the outfit couldn't afford. To prevent this, a hit was ordered. On November 9, 1975, an assassin broke into Rand's home and shot her 5 times. The assassination sent shockwaves through Las Vegas and cast suspicion on Alan Glick, who was suddenly under intense scrutiny. The fallout from Rand's murder only intensified the pressure on Lefty Rosenthal. Authorities began digging into the operations of the casinos, uncovering Rosenthal's secret role in running them, despite lacking a gaming license. Now, instead of the cops only looking at Nicky, they started scrutinizing Green too, who was supposed to be the squeaky clean front man. To continue his work, Rosenthal needed to apply for a license before the Nevada Gaming Control Board, a daunting task given his criminal background. In January 1976, Rosenthal appeared before the board, hoping that his contributions to Las Vegas would sway the decision in his favor, but his hopes were quickly dashed when the board unanimously rejected his application, effectively banning him from working in any casino. Furious, Rosenthal vowed to fight the ruling, and in 1977, the Nevada Supreme Court overturned the board's decision. Although Rosenthal was allowed to return to work, he was restricted from any gaming-related activities. Instead of keeping a low profile, Rosenthal took on a new public role as the Stardust's entertainment director and host of his own late-night talk show, The Frank Rosenthal Show. Though the show was far from a hit, Rosenthal used it as a platform to criticize the Nevada Gaming Commission and challenge local politicians, further straining his relationship with the Mafia, who preferred to operate in the shadows. While Rosenthal was battling in the courts and on television, Tony Spilotro was expanding his criminal operations. He opened a jewelry store, the Gold Rush, as a front for a burglary crew, Hole in the Wall Gang. The FBI took charge and focused on Tony and his gang. Tony was constantly watched by the FBI, but he was clever and always one step ahead. He used tricks to avoid getting caught, like using special devices to block surveillance, frequently switching cars, and speaking in code. One notable moment showed the struggle between Tony and the FBI. As agents followed him from a plane while he played golf, the plane had to make an emergency landing due to mechanical problems. This incident, while a bit ironic, highlighted how far the FBI was willing to go to catch Tony, despite the challenges they faced. Eventually, Tony couldn't escape forever. The FBI got a break when they recorded mobsters talking about the skimming operations in Las Vegas at a pizzeria in Kansas City. This evidence was crucial in breaking the Mafia's control over the city, leading to a series of indictments that changed Las Vegas for good. A clip shows that the FBI hid a microphone inside a vent in the back of a store. The character, Artie Piscano, who represented Tuffy DeLuna, complains about not being reimbursed for his expenses. Borelli, another character, warns him not to keep records. By early 1979, Tony's ego had spiraled out of control. He began acting recklessly, even breaking Mafia rules. One of his biggest mistakes was having an affair with Lefty Rosenthal's wife, Geraldine McGee, known as Ginger McKenna in the movie. In the Mafia, this was a grave offense, punishable by death. Unfortunately, Tony realized too late just how dangerous his actions were. Tony's friend, Frankie, knew about the affair but chose to lie to the bosses when they questioned him. He knew the risks, but loyalty to Tony outweighed his fear. However, the bosses were not easily fooled, especially after hearing rumors that Tony was openly flaunting his relationship with Ginger. Around this time, Tony learned that one of his associates, Jerry Lisner, had been arrested and was possibly cooperating with the FBI. Tony ordered Frank to kill Lisner, but Frank soon discovered that Tony hadn't gotten the necessary approval from Chicago, a serious breach of Mafia protocol. The Chicago outfit, already frustrated with Tony's behavior, began to lose patience. Meanwhile, the FBI flipped Sal Romano, a key member of Tony's crew. Romano secretly recorded their meetings, leading to the arrest of almost the entire crew, including Frankie. While in jail, Frank was offered a deal to testify against Tony, but he initially refused, until the FBI played a tape of Tony planning his murder. Feeling betrayed by his closest friend, Frank agreed to cooperate and entered witness protection. On October 4th, 1982, Frank Rosenthal left Tony Roma's restaurant on East Sahara Avenue and got into his Cadillac. Moments later, the car exploded. Remarkably, Rosenthal survived with only minor burns and injuries. His survival has been attributed to several factors: a metal plate beneath the driver's seat, the driver's side door being open at the time of the explosion, and sheer luck. Some believe Tony was behind the bombing, trying to cover up his affair with Ginger, while others suspected it was a sanctioned hit by the Mafia due to Lefty's mounting legal troubles. Either way, the message was clear. It was time for Lefty to leave Las Vegas. Tony's downfall continued in 1983 when he was tried for murder, but he managed to escape conviction. However, more indictments quickly followed, including charges for armed robbery and the murder of Jerry Lisner. The FBI's investigation also led to the indictment of 15 mob bosses, forcing the shutdown of their casinos and costing the outfit millions. By 1986, the pressure on the Chicago outfit had reached a breaking point. 5 bosses were sentenced to prison, and Tony had become too much of a liability. The decision was made. Tony had to go. Tony and his brother Michael were tricked into going to a house in Chicago, thinking Michael was going to be officially inducted into the Mafia. Once they arrived, they realized too late that it was a setup. The brothers were brutally beaten to death and buried in a cornfield. Their bodies were discovered a week later, marking the violent end of Tony's reign. As for Frank Lefty Rosenthal, the film Casino captures his meticulous nature, but softens the darker aspects of his character. Ginger, portrayed as volatile and manipulative, was in reality trapped in a toxic marriage with Lefty. Their relationship was far from perfect, with Lefty's controlling nature clashing with Ginger's desire for independence. Interestingly, Lefty may have been more than just a calculating casino manager. After his death, rumors surfaced that he might have been a government informant, feeding the FBI information under the codename Achilles. While this remains speculative, FBI files released years later lend some credibility to the claim. In the end, Lefty avoided prison, kept his fortune, and quietly retired, far from the glittering lights of Las Vegas. But unlike the film's portrayal of a man reluctantly drawn into a life of crime, the real Lefty was a shrewd operator who always played the odds to his advantage. The true story behind Casino reveals that the reality is often more complex, darker, and ultimately more fascinating than fiction. The glitz and glamour of Las Vegas were built on a foundation of greed, betrayal, and blood. And those who played the game too recklessly paid the ultimate price. Money never sleeps on Wall Street, and neither does on our channel. Watch all the mind-blowing Wall Street stories and explore intriguing money movies, all here in one place. Like this video and subscribe to The Money Game to level up your financial game.